You're watching City Channel 4, your window to our community.
I'd like to call to order the regular formal meeting of the Iowa City City Council for June the 20th, 2017. Roll call.
Botchway. Cole.
Here.
Dickens.
Here.
Mims.
Here.
Taylor.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Throgmorton.
Here. So I'd like to welcome everybody on this last full day of spring. It's been a gorgeous day. I've seen a lot of it by driving from here to Aurora and back, so I can attest that it's been a beautiful day that way. I'd also like to mention that Kingsley will not be with us tonight. He is required by a work responsibility to be away, so he's not here with us. He sends his respects and all that. Okay, so item 2 is proclamations. Is anybody here to accept the Immigrant Heritage Month proclamation? All right, seeing no one, I'm not going to read it. I'll just read the first one, which is about Juneteenth, National Freedom Day. It's one of my favorite proclamations, actually. So, whereas Juneteenth, National Freedom Day, celebrates the day of June 19, 1865, when Major General Gordon Granger led Union soldiers into Galveston, Texas, bringing news that the Civil War had ended and that the Emancipation Proclamation declared all slaves to be free. And whereas in Texas and throughout the South, Juneteenth celebrations began on June 19th of each year, consisting of prayer services, inspirational speeches, readings of the Emancipation Proclamation, food, games, and dances. And whereas in 1997, during the 105th U.S. Congress, House Joint Resolution 56 and Senate Joint Resolution 11 were passed, officially recognizing Juneteenth as the Independence Day observance of Americans of African descent. And whereas Juneteenth reflects our community's deep belief in liberty and equality for all individuals, as all benefit from a greater understanding and appreciation of the experiences of others. And whereas Juneteenth commemorates the strength and resolve of African Americans throughout our history and is an opportunity to celebrate African American culture, art, history, and achievement. And whereas on Saturday, June 24th, from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Mercer Park, a Juneteenth celebration will be held that will include games, activities, and a health and financial wellness fair. Now, therefore, I, James A. Throgmorton, Mayor of Iowa City, do hereby recognize June 19, 2017 as Juneteenth National Freedom Day in Iowa City and would encourage community members to attend the celebration being held on June 24 to recognize this special day. Could someone accept this proclamation, please?
Eliza Willis.
Sorry?
Eliza Willis is accepted.
Eliza. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm accepting on behalf of the Iowa City Human Rights Commission, and I do encourage people to attend on Saturday. It's a fabulous event, free food, great entertainment, so thank you very
Great.
much.
Thank you. Okay, item 3, consider adoption of the consent calendar as presented or amended, and I would say whoever makes the motion should remove item 3D20, which has to do with the crossings. Moved by Mims.
Second.
And seconded by Dickens. What have we got here? Discussion about that? Hearing none, roll call.
Cole.
Yes.
Dickens.
Yes.
Mims.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Throgmorton.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Item 4, community comment. This is for items not on the formal meeting agenda. If anybody wants to address any topic that's not on the formal meeting agenda, please feel free to come up, state your name, and take not more than 5 minutes to say what's on your mind. Good evening, Adil.
Good evening. I just came, we have a human rights meeting, but usually I came inside to see what is going on. So I get something in my mind about shooting. And last week there is shooting here in Iowa. And this is very dangerous thing in Iowa when the shooting happen because there is victims. In Iowa City, 2 months ago, we have in the city library, we have a lecture by the police about how to protect yourself when there is shooting. And I remember I asked the police if there is any police attend in all the high schools. And they told me the school, they don't want the police to be there. And I told them why. They said, we don't know. So I asked the city council, why not we keep the police in the high school, even in front of the door. One police car will protect or save a lot of children. And also as a Muslim, I know there is a group now called Anti-Islam. Also, why not the police can attend by the mosque sometimes? Because as a Muslim, some Muslim crazy, also there is some people, anti-Islam, they are crazy. And I want the police to be around also the mosque, especially on these days, because we pray the whole night until morning, until dangerous people moving around, and we are not safe. Every day, everybody come to the mosque 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning, he feels not safe. So I hope the police can attend these 2 areas, the schools when it comes on the, not now because there is no school now, but when the school is open, I hope the police to be inside the school every day. But in the mosque in Ramadan, I hope the police to help us now. And we invite you, all of you, to come to our mosque and to see how people, they break their fast. And we enjoy to talk to you about fasting. Hi, okay, assalamu alaikum.
Adil, I know that we received an invitation for that
Yeah.
meal. Can you remind me of what day
Yeah,
that
on
is?
Friday, I think.
Friday. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello. In light of recent state legislation that prohibits cities from regulating apartment occupancy limits based on familial status, the city will be considering a number of measures meant to stabilize neighborhoods from becoming predominantly rental units. I find it troublesome that student prevalence within the surrounding community is often met with lamentation within this chamber. During the June 6th work session, it was remarked that neighborhoods that consist primarily of student rental housing were deemed, quote, lost, and that the goal of the city's policies moving forward should be to, quote, save those neighborhoods that are not quite lost. I would caution against this sort of mentality moving forward, as that kind of rhetoric suggests that students are a homogenous group that intentionally sack neighborhoods, and that they are not deserving of living in housing within the community, and it does not do justice to the positive economic and cultural impact students have on our community. During the fall and spring semesters, our community swells to the tune of 24,000 undergraduate students. These students are bright, enthusiastic, and are dedicated to getting an education to better society. They study hard, they do research, they join clubs, they volunteer for organizations such as the Crisis Center and the hospital, and contribute to the overall well-being of the university and the community. Of course, as with any sizable population, there are a few bad apples, a few loud apartments and littered beer cans, and we would concede that these individuals are poor neighbors. but they're also the most visible neighbors and by no means represent the student body. Within a certain perimeter from the university, it is likely that a majority of the neighbors that people have are also students, but they're not given that recognition. As council and staff move forward with their considerations, we urge that realistic and pragmatic expectations are maintained regarding the housing environment surrounding the university core. In the same way, the university has an obligation to its students to provide housing where and when it can, so too does the city have an obligation to promote appropriate housing for its residents where it is necessary, and that includes housing available to students in neighborhoods adjacent to their school. Indeed, student housing is not simply a university issue or a city issue, but should instead be highly collaborative between both institutions. To that end, the University of Iowa student government is committed to both good neighbor practices and improving the current student housing situation. Soon we will be engaged in the housing market study, and at the moment we are analyzing data from the university's affordable housing survey conducted last semester. Over the summer, we plan to establish a task force with campus partners to improve support and resources for students who live off campus. The task force will discuss a range of topics from rental advising to food insecurity to good neighbor practices. And finally, we have expressed our need for secure locks on housing and for background checks for employees of property management companies. Housing markets are intricate and long-term problems that require an honest effort from all parties involved. UISG looks forward to working with the city to tackle these problems and to improve the community that both students and residents share. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Jeff, I'm sure that we will make efforts to reach out to Ben and others in student government to make sure they have a role to play in assessing these steps we have to take.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, we'll turn to item 5, planning and zoning matters. The first item is item 5A, rezoning 513 South Riverside Drive. This is an ordinance conditionally rezoning of approximately .62 acres of land from community commercial, CC2 zone, to riverfront crossings, West Riverfront, RFCWR zone, for property located at 513 South Riverside Drive. Before I open the public hearing, I want to see if anybody needs to make any ex parte disclosures. No, me neither. Okay, so I'm going to open the public hearing. So, let's see, do I need to ask, I see here I'm supposed to ask if the council is inclined to vote against the wishes of the P&Z, but we need a motion to continue the public
Motion to
hearing.
continue
right?
and defer
So-
first
So I'd
consideration.
like to have a motion to continue the public hearing to July 18.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mims, second by Dixons. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, so I need to defer first consideration, right? So I need a motion to defer first consideration to July 18.
So moved.
Moved by Dickens, second by Thomas. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 5B, rezoning Prairie Hill. Ordinance for a rezoning to amend a preliminary planned development overlay OPD plan for 7.8 acres of property located west of Miller Avenue and south of Benton Street. This is second consideration, but the applicant has requested expedited action. Again, I need to ask if there are any ex parte disclosures that need to be made. Seeing none?
I move that the rule requiring the ordinances must be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed be suspended, that the second consideration and vote be waived, and that the ordinance be voted on for final passage at this time.
Second.
Moved by Mims, seconded by Dickens. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Cole?
Yes.
Dickens?
Yes.
Mims?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Throckmorton?
Yes, motion carries 6-0.
Move the ordinance be adopted at this time.
Second.
Moved by Mims, seconded by Dickens. Discussion. Does anybody want to address this topic? No? All right, seeing no one. Roll call.
Dickens?
Yes.
Mims?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Throckmorton?
Yes?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Could I have a motion to accept correspondence?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Dickens, seconded by Mims. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6, University Sale, 926 East Davenport. This is a resolution authorizing conveyance of a single-family home located at 926 East Davenport Street and rescinding resolution number 17-110. I'll open the public hearing. Does anybody want to address this topic? Seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved by Mims, seconded by Dickens. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Mims.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Throgmorton.
Yes?
Cole.
Yes.
Dickens.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Item 7, Urban Renewal Plan Amendment. Resolution approving Amendment Number 3 to the Riverside Drive Urban Renewal Plan to add projects and to add land to the urban renewal area. I'll open the public hearing. Wendy?
Hi, good evening. I'm Wendy Ford, Economic Development Coordinator. You are considering tonight the third amendment to the Riverside Drive Urban Renewal Area. And as you can see on the slide we've projected, the additional area that we're talking about is that which is shaded to the left or to the west of the larger portion, crosshatched there. That portion matches the Orchard District of the Riverfront Crossings Plan, and we wanted to bring that into the same alignment with the same borders and shape that the master plan for the whole area had. So that's the primary reason for bringing that piece in. And then secondly, at the very top in the north, you'll see along Myrtle Avenue there a little strip of cross-hatching. And we're adding that because the original boundaries for the Riverside Drive Urban Renewal Area went to the center line of Myrtle Avenue. And we've got a planned intersection signalization for that area, and we want to be able to use TIF if we need it. You would choose to do that at a later date, but this would enable you to choose to use TIF dollars to help fund that project. In order to amend an urban renewal area, as you know, you need to do a couple of legislative steps, and the first one was taken on May 16th with your resolution of necessity that you passed then. The second step is for us to hold a consultation with our neighboring taxing entities of the school district and the county. That was held on June 1st. And there are opportunities for representatives from those taxing entities to give us comments and for us to respond back. However, A, nobody attended that taxing consultation, and B, there were no comments for us to respond to. And today is the last step, and that's the public hearing on it. So if you had any questions, I'd be happy to entertain those for you.
I see them up on the screen, but could you remind us and the audience about what projects are being added?
Sure. We're putting 4 public improvement projects into the plan, and I'll reiterate again that that just makes it possible for you to choose to use tax increment financing dollars to fund these. One is Riverside Drive Streetscape. The second is the Riverfront Bank, the West Riverfront Bank stabilization. The third is the river trail between Benton Street and Sturgis Park. And then lastly, the Myrtle and Riverside Drive intersection signalization. All of these projects which help to improve pedestrian access and walkability in the neighborhood.
Great, thanks, Wendy. Any questions for Wendy? Thanks. Would anybody else care to address this topic? Seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved by Mims, seconded by Dickens. Discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Taylor.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Throgmorton.
Yes?
Cole.
Yes.
Dickens.
Yes.
Mims.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Item 8, Happy Hollow Park Restroom and Shelter Replacement 2017. This is a resolution approving plans, specifications, form of agreement, and estimate of cost for the construction of the Happy Hollow Park Restroom and Shelter Replacement 2017 project, establishing amount of bid security to accompany each bid, directing city clerk to post notice to bidders, and fixing time and place for receipt of bids. I'll open the public hearing. Good evening, Julie.
Hi, Julie Seidel Johnson, Parks and Recreation Director. A project we've been working on for quite a while. It's been over a year since we actually had the public meeting out in the neighborhood. But I'm happy to show you the plans that we have tonight. I think this is going to be a very cute and appropriately historic park when we finish. Happy Hollow is just the shelter and restroom renovations. We aren't doing anything else with the playground or other areas of this park. The alignment of the restroom and shelter stays very similar to where they are now. This shows the difference is it's a separate building, a single stall, separate restroom, and then the shelter area. There's currently a storage area on one end of the shelter, and that will be going away as part of this project. The design of the shelter and restroom were based on the historic architecture of the neighborhood. The coloring isn't quite right in this rendering, so the coloring will be similar to what you see on the next slide for the restroom. But we have limestone around the pillars and then the metal roof. And you can see this calls to mind some of the historic houses around the area. There is some history to this park that it was one time a brick quarry. You'll notice we didn't include that in the actual buildings themselves. We still hope to do some brickwork in the some of the cement walk or some other way to bring that into the site as well. So I'll answer any questions.
Is that it? Okay, any questions for Julie? I don't hear any. Thank you, Julie. Would anybody else like to address this topic? Seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved by Mims, seconded by Dickens. Discussion. I'm excited to see this. I was present when you, Julie, were at Happy Hollow Park. I don't know, I might have been down there with my dog, who knows?
I believe you were.
But I know you were down there. I think Zach was with you at that time as well. And there were quite a few neighbors present and giving ideas and reactions to preliminary proposals and that kind of thing. So it's really fun to see how the plans have evolved over the past year or so. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the end product. Anyone else?
Yeah, I would just add that I think what was a key factor in the design development was that the park falls within the Brown Street Historic District. So the design process required going through the Historic Preservation Commission. I think that aspect of it really gave the design a focus in terms of what the character of those structures would be. And I think the results are very pleasing to everyone. So it's a good example of how historic preservation districts can not only influence how the residential component is preserved, but also public improvements can be benefit as well.
And I applaud you for doing that and thinking about the historic nature of the park. And it's such a visible area there with the road, very busy road running past there. It's really going to enhance the appearance of that park, I think.
It's also a pleasing place, and in light of some things that Ben said earlier, it's a park that's used not just by home-owning neighbors, but also students. I mean, there are often ball games down there. There are often picnics, celebrations of one kind or another. So it really serves the population of the neighborhood as a whole. I think that's a great thing.
I would agree, and it was one of the more interesting neighborhood meetings we had there was at that park. A lot of residents nearby very interested in that park and wanting to keep the open space there and wanting, some upgrades, but very much keep it the way it is because they like what they're able to do there right now. So was very fun.
Great. Thank you, Julie. Anybody else want to address this topic? I don't see anybody. So I haven't closed the public hearing yet, have I? I don't think I have. I'm going to close the public hearing.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Have we already done
Yeah.
it? I
And we did.
I felt like we,
That's
yeah,
all right.
sorry.
Then you must have already closed the public hearing.
Yeah. So you can't close it too many times.
That's right. I was going to say.
Extra measure.
Really close.
It
We'll save that
won't
for
hurt
another one.
anything.
Yeah.
Okay,
You
so
opened
we
it,
were
so
doing
that's
discussion. Okay, roll call, please.
Taylor?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Throgmorton?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Dickens?
Yes.
Mims?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Item 9, City Park Cabin Restoration Project. This is a resolution awarding contract and authorizing the mayor to sign and the city clerk to attest a contract for construction of the City Park Cabin Restoration Project. Is there a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Moved by Dickens,
Second.
second by Thomas. Discussion, Julie, would you tell us about this, please?
Yeah, I wanted to take a few minutes. This project is a little unusual. It's a very unique project, and it's in and of itself with the historic nature of the cabins. But we are asking for considerable additional money, $80,000 in addition to what we thought the project would cost. So I want to kind of walk you through what's included and why we're asking for that. As you know, the City Park cabins sit in Upper City Park. They're on the National Registry of Historic Places. They are in sad disrepair at this point. Luckily, they're very strong structures, or they wouldn't even be standing right now. I'm not sure how long the blue tarp's been on, 2 or 3 years, probably. So we brought in some historic preservation experts to look at it, help us decide how best to restore these. That's where the recommendations came for what's included in the project. So as you can see, there's lots of things that need work on these shelters. The first priority was the roof, and that was the base bid on this project. And you can see there's blue tarps over it just to try to maintain what we can in that. And you can see some of the rotting wood on the inside. So that is the first priority. The second priority is foundation work underneath, and I don't particularly have a great picture of the foundation, but it's cracked and it needs some shoring up. The third part is restoration of the logs, and this is quite a detailed process. In fact, the contractor will come in, evaluate it, look at it, decide how much they can salvage and how much needs to be replaced. Then they have to go look for historically appropriate logs salvaged from other historic buildings, and they will be doing that, and that's part of the timeline on this project. It will go for an entire year because they estimate it'll take that long to track down the appropriate materials. You can see here some of the rot and some of the chinkings falling out. There's numerous holes. It's not not an airtight, it will never be an airtight building, but lots of things happening there. Inside, the next priority is to look at the flooring and then the windows and doors. So you can see the condition of the window and doors. I've heard it was once used as a concession stand, so some of the original windows were taken out and concession stand windows were put in, and things have been moved around a little bit. This will get us back to the historic, true nature of the cabins. The reason we're asking to do it all at one time and for the additional funds is it is highly specialized work. And if you remember, we bid this once before and had no bidders whatsoever on the project. So we feel fortunate we got 2 good bids at this point. We have a consultant on board that can help us manage this project, and it seems to make sense to do it all at once rather than coming back and trying to rebid the smaller sections later on. So I'd ask for your consideration to be able to do the entire project at once.
Julie, can you tell us how the cabins will be used once they're renovated?
Sure. Recreation programming, primarily with youth groups, Cub Scout groups, smaller youth groups like that will want to come out, experience what life was like back in the 1840s and before here in Iowa. So we'll have some interpretive programming. Our summer camps will be able to use the facilities. It won't be an open rental type situation. It will be something that's staffed and overseen. Even when restored, these are still fairly delicate structures. So,
Will there be any interpretive signage as part of this project?
it's not actually part of this project, but it's something we will definitely have, and definitely have information on the website when we're done, and written materials available at the site. So.
Can you remind us of when these cabins were built? I know they aren't original, you know, from.
Right, they have an
from the
interesting
early
history. They were
days.
built by the Johnson County Old Settlers Old Settlers Group as demonstration cabins. I believe they were first at the fairgrounds as a demonstration even back in the 1840s of what it, and I hope I'm saying the right date with the 1840s. They were actually built 1889 and 1913. I'm sorry, my misstep there. And they were used heavily for camps and children's programs for about 2006. So it's been that long. But before that, even then they were a demonstration, but they're still considered historically significant because they were built so close to what the originals were even at that time, so.
Well, I find myself feeling kind of curious about this, so I mean, I'm going to support the resolution, but I want to explore something with my fellow council people and staff. It's pretty easy to look at structures like this and imagine that what they reflect is only about the people who originally settled here, meaning basically white Europeans who originally settled here. But there was a lot more going on at the time. I mean, it involved the Sac and Fox Indians and the fact that they had to move. And we also have quite a few new residents who do not have this sort of historical connection, some of whom are, you know, white people like me who come from Kentucky or wherever, you know. So I'm wondering about programming. I'm wondering if there are ways to expand the thinking about how these two cabins could be used so that they actually can be meaningful to people from Adil's community, our recent Muslim immigrants, or some of our Hispanic residents, African American residents, natives whose tribes once lived here but don't anymore. You know, that kind of thing. And I'm not, Julie, I'm not expecting you to kind of answer what I'm leading to here, but I'm wondering if we can expand the programming of these two cabins so that they really connect with the population that exists here instead of some sort of mythical population about the past.
I think it's probably a twofold answer to that question, though. I think it can be a touchstone for a number of programs that can relate to that time period in general, whether it even be in our immediate area or what was happening around the United States or around the world at that period. I think that's a really neat way to tie in Iowa City's history to the history of everything else going on around us. And I would also tell you from my past experience managing a historical property like this, we had a lot of recent immigrants that wanted to come because they specifically wanted to learn their new history, and they wanted to learn, you know, they weren't aware of what the history was in their new community. So they were just as interested in learning about it because it was not their own, as their own history. So I think it can play both ways.
Great. All right. Thank you, Julie. I don't know if there's anybody else who wants to address this topic. I mean, we're not having a public hearing, but if anybody wants to, that'd be good. All right, I don't see anybody else, so do we have we have a motion, don't we? So we're having discussion, so council discussion?
I like your idea, Jim. I mean, I think I sort of view it as something that, you know, if the community, that some members of the community want to step up and pursue that, maybe yourself at some point in the future. I think it's an interesting topic to explore, and the buildings are evocative. I think they would really lend themselves to that.
Okay, seeing no one else, roll call, please.
Thomas?
Yes.
Throgmorton?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Dickens?
Yes.
Mims?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Item 10, workforce housing tax credits. Resolution in support of the Saddlebrook Meadows Development, Inc. application for the Workforce Housing Tax Incentives Program from the Iowa Economic Development Authority to construct residential housing at 2666 and 2674 Pinto Lane and 2769 and 2751 Blazing Star Drive, and committing local funds to the project. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Dickens, seconded by Thomas. Jeff, do you want to have anybody talk about this?
Yeah, Tracy can come up and give you a quick overview.
Yeah, it'll be brief, I'm sure. Tracy?
Do you want me to update on the project itself or the workforce housing tax credits?
Yeah, I think we got the workforce housing tax credit thing,
Okay.
so maybe just this project.
Sure. Steve Gordon applied to the Housing Trust Fund, and he was awarded funds to assist 3 of the 4 houses. They will be sold at that, let me get my memo out. I think they're $175,000.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep. And then the Housing Trust Fund allocated $50,000 per house. So the developer will, for the 3 homes, they'll be providing $10,000. And then the developer's providing $10,000 grant. And then the Housing Trust Fund will provide $12,500 as a 5-year forgivable loan and $12,500 in a no-interest 10-year loan. So it'll be affordable to folks below 80%. So 3 of the 4 homes will be sold to people under 80% of median income.
Yeah, good deal.
They're small, modest homes.
Good deal. Thank you. Any questions for Tracy? All right, we have a motion on the floor. The motion was made by Dickens, seconded by Thomas. Any council discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Throgmorton,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Dickens.
Yes.
Mims.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Item 11, solid waste code amendments for cardboard ban. Ordinance amending Title 16, Public Works, Chapter 3, City Utilities, Article H, Solid Waste, to prohibit landfilling of corrugated cardboard. This is first consideration.
Move first consideration.
Second.
Moved by Mims, seconded by Dickens. Discussion. Jen Jordan. Good evening, Jen.
Council. Jen Jordan, Resource Management Superintendent. Let me bring up the slide I have here for tonight. And this single slide summarizes the last year's work almost to the date. On June 6th of 2016, Resource Management staff brought 7 initiatives to Council for your consideration, for the general concept consideration. We were given direction to proceed with all 7 of those, and in November of 2016, we came back with 4 proposed code changes, which were passed at that point. So the first 4 there are currently in effect. I take that back. The first 3 are. The 4th of the first 4 becomes effective July 1st of this year. So that was the multifamily, starting at the beginning there, the mandatory multifamily recycling. That went into effect in November and will roll out over the course of 2 years. The electronics waste ban is actually specifically for computer monitors and televisions. That went into effect on January 2nd of this year. That has been going very well at the landfill. Curbside organics, we've been doing a lot of information and education on food waste reduction, but the other piece of that is picking up the food waste at the curb for curbside customers. We rolled that out in March, and that is also going very well after a couple of initial snafus and some really good public input and getting those corrected. The last item then again is of the first 4 that have passed is the covered load policy at the landfill. So that is an effort to reduce the amount of blowing litter from trucks on the way out to the landfill. We are working right now on getting information out about that, so you'll start seeing that, and hopefully tomorrow, actually. So that outreach is in effect. That will affect the entire service area, all landfill users. The code change that we're bringing tonight then is specifically for a cardboard ban, which will have a significant impact on the materials going into the landfill. The other item tonight proposed is not a code change, it's an operational and equipment change. That is single stream recycling. I'm happy to answer questions about any or all of those.
Jen, I have a question on the cardboard ban. One, I'm totally supportive of it, but have already started hearing questions from the construction community.
Sure.
And I've seen some stuff in the last few days, people posting that East Side and also Republic spots have just been overwhelmed with stuff. What are we looking at doing to either as the city or in conjunction with Republic or whoever to make sure that we have sufficient locations and capacity to handle all the cardboard that's not going to be going to the landfill?
Sure, it's going to be probably threefold. The biggest one, to directly answer your question, is we are in the process of purchasing a cardboard compactor for the Eastside Recycling Center, which will not only be much easier for the public to use, including contractors, but it will result in pretty significant efficiency. So not to get into too much detail, but right now we're making 8 trips from the landfill to Eastside Recycling Center to dump cardboard every week. This will essentially, we're estimating, quadruple the amount of material that we're getting there. So if you can picture that, that's basically a full-time staff person in a full-time truck running cardboard back and forth all week. So the operational efficiencies come in with a compactor that it's going to get it down from roughly 35 or 40 trips per week down to 1, because it'll hold so much more material. So that's the big one that's already happening now. We also have budgeted a cardboard compactor for the landfill facility. So
That was one of the big questions, so they would save them trips.
Yep.
Okay.
And all the public will be able to use those, not just Iowa City residents, not just residents. It'll be for businesses, nonprofits, whoever wants to use those.
When will we have the compactor out of the landfill, do you expect?
I will say tentatively by the end of the year.
Okay.
It's in the next budget, so by the time we get through the purchasing process and doing all of that, 6 months should be sufficient for that.
Thank you.
Yep. And then more directly to the other part of this, and it ties in with the multifamily, is that the multifamily residents will have access to recycling where they live in the very near future as that's rolling out. So a lot more people will have access right where they live. So that's part of why we're putting that one off too till January of 2018. So it'll give things a little bit more time to roll out.
Okay, thank you.
Jen, I have a more micro-scale question, and it's one I've asked before, but I don't remember how you answered it.
I may not either.
Oh, it has to do with pizza. You know my question.
Pizza boxes, yes,
So
I
you
actually
got
got
all
the.
this cheese inside your
Yep.
cardboard.
Getting that question too,
Yeah,
so.
I've gotten a couple of those already too. Yes, thanks for asking. So the short answer is it's probably a gray area. The formal language will be clean cardboard, I believe. So if it's covered with cheese or pepperoni chunks, we don't want it in the recycling, obviously. But with the new curbside composting program, we can take it in that. Now, that won't serve all of the residents of Iowa City. That's just the curbside customers, but that will be a significant chunk of them. So it could be composted in a home compost bin too. But the clean cardboard, the top, if there's not cheese on it of the pizza box, that could be recycled.
But
That's
the
what I've
bottom
been doing,
part, where does that go? That, we would compost
So that
that
could get
because it
composted,
cannot
yep.
go into the landfill.
Right, if there's grease or cheese on it, it shouldn't go in with the cardboard recycling.
Okay, so we compost, okay. I've been getting a lot of questions too on this question of verification. So how are you actually going to verify who's putting cardboard in there? And what will the penalties be if they do discover that there's cardboard? For, like, say, for example, for me, suppose Counselor Cole puts something in there that he's not supposed to. How would that play itself out?
They just leave your trash there for the next 2 weeks.
So
They'd call the media.
It was one of the
Yeah,
staff at the
exactly.
landfill pointed out this morning, the buck stops at the landfill.
Okay.
So we will have spotters at the landfill checking loads, at least initially, till people get in the hang of this. But we do have a 6-month period built in, since it won't be rolling out until January, where we have lots of opportunity for education and outreach. So other communities have done this. I realize it seems a bit foreign maybe to some of us. It will be a struggle. It will take a lot of education and outreach, but I think we can do it.
Okay, so I mean, in terms of the mechanics of it, though, like for individual households, it's my understanding, though, that they would be the ones that would actually be fined. And so do they just randomly check certain garbage cans and then at the site, or I'm still unclear as to how that would work.
Gotcha. The fine would actually come into effect at the landfill. So if you're served by city services, so if the hauler or the city truck that picks up your trash didn't see it when it got to the landfill, and if there was a significant amount, but basically we're using the term any discernible amount of cardboard,
Yeah.
that load would be charged an additional tipping fee, and that we would come back to council with that later this fall when we have that set, or
Okay.
are ready to set that.
Okay.
Anything else for Jen? Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You're almost finished with your list?
Pretty close. It's a year's work right here. We'll have another list soon, I'm sure.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Any council discussion?
Can I chime in just
Sure.
for a second? Obviously, this has taken a lot of effort to get us from last June to where we are today. And there's a gentleman in the back in the green shirt whose face is probably about to turn red.
Wow, there is only one
was
person
really
like
instrumental in getting all of these initiatives off the ground, because they've been on our list of to-dos for several years. And Chris O'Brien really stepped up and helped the staff figure out the best path forward. And so Chris's last day will be this Friday, but we should all acknowledge the role that he played in making all this happen as well.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome, Chris.
You've done a great job.
All right.
All right, well, no further discussion?
On the pizza box issue, I do think, though, that's something we might have to figure out. It strikes me that for the cheesy bottom, that not everyone's going to be able to compost that. So it just strikes me as something we have to keep an eye on. I don't mean to make too much of a controversy out of it, but I think we have to monitor that pretty closely because you don't mess with people's pizza. So
You don't mess with the pizza.
yeah, exactly.
Headline, council messes with pizza. Okay, roll call.
Cole?
Yes.
Dickens?
Yes.
Mims?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Throgmorton?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Item 12, fireworks amendment. Ordinance amending Title 8 Police Regulations, Chapter 5 Miscellaneous Offenses, Section 12 Fireworks, to allow for the sale of some fireworks, revised definitions of fireworks, and increase the penalty for use of fireworks within city limits, all in compliance with newly amended state law. This is second consideration, but staff requests expedited action.
I move that the rule requiring that ordinances must be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed be suspended, that the second consideration and vote be waived, and that the ordinance be voted on for final passage at this time.
Second.
Moved by Mims, seconded by Dickens. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Cole?
Yes.
Dickens?
Yes.
Mims?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Throgmorton?
Yes, motion carries 6-0.
Move final adoption.
Second.
Moved by Mims, seconded by Dickens. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Dickens?
Yes.
Mims?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Throgmorton?
Yes,
Cole?
Yes.
motion carries 6-0. Item 13, amending City Code Title 1, Chapter 8. Ordinance amending Title 1 Administration, Chapter 8 Administrative Service Departments, Section 1 Administrative Service Departments Organized, to revert the title of the Transportation and Resource Management Department to the Transportation Services Department, to reflect a realignment of supervision over resource management to the Public Works Director. This is second consideration, but again, staff requests expedited action.
I move that the rule requiring the ordinances must be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed be suspended, that the second consideration and vote be waived, and that the ordinance be voted on for final passage at this time.
Second.
Moved by Mims, seconded by Dickens. Discussion.
Just remember, they're only doing this because Chris is leaving. We couldn't get him to stay.
It's all Chris's fault again.
That's right.
He's leaving.
Point the finger of blame. Uh-oh.
Shamed into it.
Good.
This was going to be the point. Jeff promised me no shenanigans tonight, so he failed miserably. But before we get to the final vote, obviously this was the point. I was going to come and thank everybody for the support you've given, not only this council, but several councils in the 19 and a half-ish years I've been with the city. 2008, the director position. So transportation, it's kind of funny as you're going through emails and you start to see a lot of these things. I came across one that I think I sent a copy to Eleanor and to a couple people, where we sent out an email to staff asking for ideas to rename this department to Transportation and Resource Management. And actually one of the first things in 08 we did, I think, was change over the name of the division to Transportation Services. So it's odd how all of that comes full circle, 9 years later. So thank you to everybody, from obviously Jeff to Tom to everybody else I've worked with in the city, including the support I've gotten from this council and several others. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We're going to miss you.
Thank you, Chris.
Great job.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mims?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Throgmorton?
Yes,
Cole?
Yes.
Dickens?
Yes.
motion carries 6-0.
that just
That was-
collapsing?
that was for
I've lost it.
collapsing,
I move final adoption at this time.
Second.
Moved by Mims, seconded by Dickens. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Taylor?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Throgmorton?
Yes?
Cole?
Yes.
Dickens?
Yes.
Mims?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Item 14, assessment schedule. Resolution adopting an assessment schedule of unpaid mowing, cleanup of property, snow removal, sidewalk repair, and stop box repair charges, and directing the clerk to certify the same to the Johnson County Treasurer for collection in the same manner as property taxes.
Move to resolution.
Second.
Moved by Dickens, seconded by Thomas. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Taylor?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Throgmorton?
Yes?
Cole?
Yes.
Dickens?
Yes.
Mims?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Item 15, city clerk residency. Ordinance amending Title I Administration, Chapter 7, City Officers, City Attorney, City Clerk, City Manager, Section 2, Appointment and Removal, to replace the residency requirement for the position of city clerk with a residency preferred requirement. This is second consideration, but again, staff requests expedited action.
I move that the rule requiring the ordinances must be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed be suspended, that the second consideration and vote be waived, and that the ordinance be voted on for final passage at this time.
Second.
Moved by Mims, seconded by Dickens. Discussion. I'd just like to say, you should have that memorized by now.
No, Ross Wilburn always read it too. I mean, you'd screw it up if you try and do it by memory.
I know. Do end up like the Supreme Court justice. Okay, any further discussion?
That's a word.
Hearing none, roll call.
Thomas?
Yes.
Throgmorton?
Yes?
Cole?
Yes.
Dickens?
Yes.
Mims?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Move final adoption at this time.
Second.
Moved by Mims, seconded by Thomas. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Throgmorton?
Yes?
Cole?
Yes.
Dickens?
Yes.
Mims?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Item 16, city clerk appointment. Resolution appointing Kelly K. Fruling, as city clerk and authorizing the mayor to sign and the deputy city clerk to attest an employment agreement.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved by Mims, seconded by Taylor. Discussion.
Just happy to make this appointment. Kelly is going to do a great job. She's been in that office for a long time, very experienced, very knowledgeable, and I think will serve the city very, very well for a long time. So glad to have her in the position.
Me too, I'm very excited. Kelly and I were going to have lunch today, but I ended up being in Aurora, Illinois, and we're going to have to reschedule, right? I'd like to note that Kelly's appointment takes effect tomorrow morning at, 8 o'clock or whenever the day begins.
6.
We're happy to have you on board, Kelly. Okay, roll call, please.
Cole?
Yes.
Dickens?
Yes.
Mims?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Throgmorton?
Yes. Motion to accept correspondence, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dickens, seconded by Thomas. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 17, council appointments. Applicants must reside in Iowa City and be 18 years of age unless specific qualifications are stated. So we have item 17A, the Airport Commission. There's one vacancy to fill a 4-year term. We received 2 applications from Derek Labrie and Christopher Lawrence. No gender balance is required. So what's your pleasure, folks?
I think mine was Christopher Lawrence. I'm trying to go back through.
That's my inclination.
Yeah, I think they're both candidates, but I leaned a little
very
bit
good.
toward
Yeah.
Right,
Christopher.
Derek had a very impressive resume, but has
Yeah.
not been in Iowa City quite as long as Christopher
yeah.
has, or been dealing with the airport as long.
Yeah.
He's certainly a good candidate. They're both good candidates.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So I guess we're on board with Christopher Lawrence? Okay, so, let's see, and then, well, I guess I need to read these, don't I? Well, we have one other commission, Senior Center, right?
Oh, that's right, we did seniors.
Yeah, so we have 2 applicants to fill one unexpired term on the Senior Center Commission, and there's a male gender balance requirement. The 2 are from Kenneth Bowen and Jay Honahan.
I would say Kenneth looks fine, and we've had the conversation about Jay multiple times with having served 6 times already, that we were looking for a new face, and so Kenneth looked, his application looked fine to me.
I agree with that.
I agree. Okay. So since these are 2 commissions to which we're appointing people, could I have a motion to appoint the the individuals we've named?
So moved.
Moved by Mims, seconded by
Second.
Thomas. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so we have some other vacancies I want to announce.
Jim, there was correspondence.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yeah. Could I have a motion to accept correspondence with regard to the Airport Commission, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mims, seconded by Dickens. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So we have one vacancy to fill an unexpired term on the I do this every time. 2 vacancies to fill unexpired terms on the Airport Zoning Board of Adjustment. 1 vacancy to fill an unexpired term upon appointment to the Airport Zoning Commission. 1 vacancy for a Jefferson Street representative to fill a 3-year term on the Historic Preservation Commission, and 2 vacancies to fill 3-year terms on the Telecommunications Commission. No applicants have been received for any of those, so we'll need to re-advertise. Item 18, announcement of vacancies. Again, applicants must reside in Iowa City and be 18 years of age unless specific qualifications are stated. We have 1 vacancy to fill an unexpired term upon appointment to the Housing and Community Development Commission. Applications must be received by 5 p.m. Tuesday, July 11, 2017. Is that true, Kelly, also for the other positions I just mentioned?
Probably for the ones that we're going to re-advertise. I don't know if we'll push them out a little bit further, although with only 1 meeting in July, we may do the July 11th, just in case we do get applications that could be filled.
Okay, so I guess I just really shouldn't say anything else. Okay. All right, let's move on to item 20, which is City Council information. And maybe we could start with just kind of throw a clinker into things. John Thomas.
Okay, I'd mentioned during the work session that there's a summer mixer with the Johnson County Affordable Housing Coalition tomorrow evening, 5:30 to 7 at the Iowa City Area Association of Realtors in Coralville. And on Thursday, the picnic in the park will move to North Market Square. So welcome. It was interesting to hear your listening post at Kiwanis that there were outsiders who came to that event. So I encourage outsiders to come to North Market Square. If
And what time does it start?
It starts at 6:30 and runs till 8, and there will be also a puppet show prior to the music.
Is that it? Okay, which way to go? Susan, would you go next, please?
A couple of good events in the last couple of weeks. Went to the Crisis Center's Hunger Banquet a week or so ago. It was kind of an interesting new type of fundraiser they did. It was promoted very well that you were buying a ticket for the banquet, but you did not know if you were getting a meal. The meals they were serving were everything from nothing to steak and lobster. You might get a sandwich, which is what I got. You might get chicken, and we joked at our table that all of us had enough banquet chicken, so we didn't care about that. There was mac and cheese, and then there was steak and lobster, and nobody at our table got the steak and lobster. But the idea was to kind of show people, for some people, they don't know where their next meal is coming from or what they are getting. So it was a very interesting concept, had a great turnout at the Sheridan. Banquet room was pretty well packed. So it was a great fundraiser for the Crisis Center. And then last week went to the Martini Shake-Off for Have Life. It's a nonprofit in town. Jeff's on the board. Raise money for scholarships for youth, for sports, drama, music, different kinds of things. The thing that I was most impressed about at that fundraiser was the average age of the people in that room. It is the next generation getting involved. really as, hopefully as volunteers, and also, maybe being able to donate some money. But the event was very much, I would say, younger generation, but a lot of businesses in town who donated. A lot of the bars were set up with, they had mini martinis is basically what they had. All the liquor was donated, all the food was donated, you paid to get in, and then silent auction. So great fundraiser for a great organization. Going to miss out on the Affordable Housing Coalition thing tomorrow night, going to a function encouraging women to get involved in politics, part of the 50-50 by 2020 or whatever. So looking forward to that.
Good deal. Terry?
Have Natural Grocers at the corner of Highway 6 and Gilbert will have their ribbon cutting tomorrow morning, and I will be there in place of Jim since he's going to be gone. Alexander Lumber's showroom is having a little get-together at their new facility in the old Aldi building. That'll be from 6 to 8 tomorrow night, and they've asked me to come and represent the council there. And then Julie Seidel Johnson, I just left, but Miller Frontholz Park, which I've been working on, got a garbage can a few years ago. The playground is officially open today, so people can go out there. They will have a ground or a opening of the park at a later date, but it is officially opened. So I'm glad to see that after 7.5 years of working on getting a park put in there. So
It's nice to see.
yeah.
So I wanted to talk about the community barbecue and remind people about that. I think that particular barbecue is really going to fit in well. It's put on by the Black Voices Project. It's really going to fit in well with what we heard during the work session. It's going to involve a lot of different nonprofits. I know that essentially the Inside Out program is going to be there. It's going to be a great neighborhood concept. And of course, there's going to be locally sourced barbecue, so it should be really, really tasty. We have Jimmy Jack's Barbecue is volunteering to essentially make all of it, so it's going to be really fabulous. I think there's going to be a lot of people there. It's going to be a really good turnout. And I think what they're hoping to do is use this as a template so that people can hold their own community banquets in other parts of the community as well. So hopefully they'll be able to replicate that very well and sort of support them.
What's the date and location again?
Yeah, and it's June 29th from 4 to 8 o'clock at Weatherby Park. So June 29th from 4 to 8 at Weatherby Park. So I think it's going to be a really great event, and thanks for reminding me about the actual time and place. That's always important. Couple different things. Normally I don't talk about little family vacations, but a couple weeks ago I went to Springfield, Illinois, and the reason why I bring it up in connection with Iowa City, I didn't know this. Our old capitol is modeled after their old capitol.
And architect.
Yes, same architect. And it was funny that I learned that actually afterward when I posted it on Facebook. And I went into their capitol, it looks just like ours. So encourage people to visit our sister old capitol, and except they didn't actually move it to another location. They actually got to keep their capitol location. Of course, it was fun to learn about Honest Abe. Final thing is that I was going to talk about Kiwanee Park during this part of it, but I just want to reemphasize the point of visiting all of our fabulous parks. I thought of Happy Hollow Park. We've spent a lot of wonderful time there as a family, and just sort of reminder that no matter how great each one of our neighborhood parks are, it's really good to explore. You can almost spend a whole summer exploring all the beautiful parks. So I just want to encourage the community to get out and experience those.
Somebody a few days ago told me that people who live on the east side hardly ever go to any of the parks on the west side, and vice versa.
Can I share one story along that point? A good friend of mine who has lived on the west side for 30 years did not know we had that bike trail on the east side near Hy-Vee Park, or near Hy-Vee Store. And he lived here for 30 years and literally didn't know it existed. And then conversely, I'd never been over to Kiwanee, so I think that does emphasize that point in terms of really getting on both sides of the river.
Pauline.
Again, on our adventure at Kiwanis Park, I thank
It's a legendary
people,
event
if they're
now,
listening
Pauline.
or watching. I'd really love to thank the people that did take the time to talk to us, and even though they were in the middle of having some good family fun, because it was very informative. It was great. Also remind folks that the bookmobile was there, and it will be at all of the parties in the park. The kids all loved that. They all talked about that. Thought that was really great. I'll remind folks, since no one else has said this about, I don't think, about the block party, the Iowa City Block Party, first ever, coming up this Saturday, I believe it is, from 5 till 11 p.m. downtown. Should be fun.
Oh, if I could, just real quick, Jim.
Sure.
If people haven't seen it, I got an email, and I don't know if it came from the downtown district, but tickets are on sale for the farm-to-table dinner.
Yeah.
So, and I know last year it sold out really fast, and I don't think they're on sale to the public yet. I think we have a special code that we can use to get them ahead of time. So.
Special handshake or what?
No, so if you haven't gotten it and you want it, let me know, I'll find it, but, yeah. Because I know last year they opened up some extra tickets for electeds because I don't think many of us were going to be there. We hadn't bought tickets, so they're available if you want them.
So, Susan, last year, they invited me as the mayor to speak at that event, and I can't be there this time, so I've asked the organizers if they want somebody from the council to come and say a few words on behalf of the council. Yeah, so I haven't gotten a response to that
Okay.
yet, but.
Okay. I'll be there, so
Yeah.
if you need somebody.
Yeah, okay. John?
You have,
You all right?
I spoke.
Oh, it was first. That's right. Well, my turn then, huh? Okay, let's see. Speaking, I spoke at Merge's grand opening on the 15th. Spoke at IC Compassion's Refugee Summit on the 16th. Both of those were really good events. Participated in the Pride Parade on the 17th. That was fun to do, and I got to say that the number of people involved was far greater than any of the others I've seen, both in terms of people in the parade and people watching. It was an important event.
Downtown event was great, too.
Yeah, and let's see, I want to also mention that tomorrow Jeff and I are, and maybe some other staff people, I don't know, is it Jeff?
Just the two of us,
Just Jeff and I are going up to Des Moines to meet with other members of the Metro Coalition and talk with them about last winter's legislative session and what we might anticipate and so on. Nobody mentioned Juneteenth, the Saturday, the 24th at Mercer Park. Looking forward to going to that. Let's see. Yeah.
Do we have a time as to when those events will actually start? Does anyone know
Well,
that?
I think I know about that one.
The proclamation said noon.
Noon, okay.
I didn't have
Yeah,
that
it's
on my-
noon to 6.
Noon to 6, okay.
Yeah. I want to mention two other things. First, the National League of Cities City Summit in Charleston, South Carolina, or North Carolina will take place. North Carolina will take place in sometime in November. I don't remember the exact dates, but I intend to go. But if I think it'd be reasonable for one other council member to go. We've talked about that a little bit before, and if anybody's interested, it'd be good to talk with Jeff and get registered, because I think the deadline for registering is the 30th of June in order to save $150 or something like that.
Okay.
So please connect with Jeff. Also, or with Simon. I guess Simon would do the
The
registering.
dates, I just found the dates. It's the 15th through the 18th of November.
Okay, thanks. And the last thing I want to mention is something I learned about today, and I cannot elaborate upon this, but I have several days ago, I reached out to Governor Reynolds' scheduler to see if we could arrange a time to meet and talk about topics of mutual interest, either in Des Moines or here, or maybe in some fashion, both. So the scheduler got back to me today and said, well, let's see what we can set up. So if I learn something, I'll let you know. All right, Jeff, anything?
Nothing.
Ashley? No. Eleanor? No. I'd like to say, welcome aboard. Hey. I'm really happy for you. And I'm looking forward to lunch. Okay, so.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Moved by Mims, second by Dickens. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
You're watching City Channel 4. On TV, online, on demand, on Facebook, and now on the go on your mobile device.